there everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another update on news and information about DCS World. I'm your host, of course, Prickly Hedgehog, and as always, I do hope this video, which is of course delayed, finds you well wherever you're tuning in from. Yes, I was out of town, actually out of state last week, spending some time with family, and of course I got down to Wisconsin. Down in Kenosha there. I actually visited a Renaissance fair. I enjoy the Renaissance period, of course, immensely, and because I have a history degree and did some study on some aspects of that life, which is kind of an interesting time in our period. And yeah, it was hot, and some ale was consumed, and some food was eaten, and then after the 102 heat index really got too much, I went and dipped in the lake, which I was able to do where we were staying, which was awesome. But yeah, very hot time. And of course, speaking of hot, we got some great images of Eagle Dynamics' rather sexy Apache, which they have basically told us they're close to completing the exterior model, and they were rather excited to share some of the features of that exterior model with us in these amazing screenshots. We're going to come back to that in just a sec. But let's talk about some housekeeping here too. There is a competitive squadron on squadron arena under SATAC 2021. This is an event that's coming up that you can register for if you have a competitive squadron that you enjoy, you know, air-to-air combat with. So it is focused on air-to-air. I don't believe there's any air-to-ground roles here. But if you want to know more, check out the link in the description below. But it features things like, they're going to, of course, this year they're going to be able to include the 2.7 weather, which features, of course, the wind, the wake, and the turbulence, and the cloud layers. So that's going to be cool. It's going to have realistic human GCI support via LOT ATC and a well-balanced DACT or DACT format with all the modern aircraft and weapons pitted to the test by the best virtual pilots. So if that sounds like your bag, baby, then as I said, check it out for more information, or again, the link will be in the description below. Speaking of this is my bag, baby, the channel map right now has received a 30% discount if you already own the Mosquito, which is available in pre-purchase right now, I believe. So if you want to pick up the map and stretch your dollars a little bit further, you will need, if you haven't already done so, to purchase the Mosquito. This will qualify you for that discount, and then you can get basically 2 modules at a super discounted price, which is really awesome. And of course, what can be better than flying the Mosquito, a beautiful period piece aircraft in a fantastic map such as the Channel. They've done a lot of work on that. It's very close to its final state, which is why they have offered this discount. And what better way to celebrate the beauty of the Mosquito by flying around on a beautiful map that's period appropriate. So take advantage of that if you're able to. That sale, of course, does end on September 9th, so don't miss out. Don't leave it too long if you're kicking it around, because, you know, time and life and dates suddenly spring up on you, and suddenly you realize you've missed the opportunity. So if you have the opportunity and you want to pull the trigger on it, do it. Don't wait, because sometimes you can miss out. And of course, the offer will be available on Steam too for those of you that are in that format. Let's get back to the Apache, which looks fantastic. As I said, Eagle Dynamics has said that they're close to completing the external model for the AH-64D. They wanted to share some progress with us, and it looks pretty fantastic. One of the images that they shared here showcases the common missile warning system on one of the wingtips. And these CMWS sensors can passively detect surface-to-air and air-to-air missile launchers using in-band ultraviolet detectors. It can then manually or automatically engage the chaff and flare dispenser as part of the aircraft survivability equipment suite, also known as the ASE. Now, they're working on the external stores and pylons. These things can actually articulate. I didn't realize this. And I have seen this. I didn't really click to what was going on there, but they can apparently articulate to provide launcher elevation, which is neat. Then, of course, when landing, the pylons will automatically translate to the ground stow mode so that they are parallel with the level terrain or the ground, so they're not striking the ground as you bring the aircraft to a landing position. Now, several skins are going to be provided for the aircraft too from the US Army, and several other countries' skins will also be available during the early access period as well. The functionality of the fire control radar that sits on top of the main rotor will also be made available. So quite a lot of work is going on in this aircraft outside of the exterior model. But when we look at the exterior model, I was just thinking about the close-up here of this wing pylon. You've got rivets. I mean, the detail that they've gone into here, into this aircraft, the exterior modeling here is absolutely fantastic. You've got these rivets, you've got this worn paint and scuffs and just general wear and tear from a workhorse aircraft. They've done a fantastic job of this. Based on what we can see, we've got a lot of attention to detail. The little decals that mark out points of interest for maintenance and obviously safety, so on and so forth. All of these things contribute to a very, very detailed exterior model, and this kind of focus is why we really appreciate some of the work that Eagle Dynamics does. And unfortunately, they do get a lot of shit from people. In fact, there were a few comments from people with regards to these images, and somebody's like, where's the Phantom? You guys didn't do Phantom. You're wasting your time on this and then the Phantom. And sure, I mean, I know Spudknocker did a video recently on the Phantom and that we need it and etc. etc. I actually disagree with him on that. I think it would be a nice aircraft in the game. There's no question. I think it would sit very nicely with the Intruder, and of course, which we hopefully will be getting from Heat Blur, the F-14, of course. No question about it. But I don't know personally if it's as critical as perhaps some Red 4 aircraft. And I know I'm deviating off topic here a little bit. In my own opinion, I think some Gen 4 Red 4 aircraft are really critical. We're probably not going to see them just because of constraints with the international diplomacy and restrictions and secrecy and all the rest of it. And that's the nature of the world we live in right now, unfortunately. But a MiG-29, for example, a former East German MiG-29 would be a godsend, I think, for Red 4 aircraft. I think that's as critical as any Phantom, and I know the fans will want to cut me up for this. It's not that I hate the Phantom at all. I think it's a fantastic aircraft. I would love to see it in the game. There's no question about that. But in terms of balance and in terms of what we have available to us, I think a Red 4 would be fantastic. Now, getting back then to the work that Eagle Dynamics is doing on this, you have to applaud the detail. You have to applaud where they've come with this aircraft, because it was only perhaps a year ago that this was just a dream. This was just, I wonder if they'll ever do it. That we hear, is there any discussion about this aircraft? And then we got this fantastic video at the end of last year indicating, yeah, we are going to do the Apache. And it looked a lot further along than perhaps just inception, or just idea. We really are seeing the culmination of a tremendous amount of work that's been going on behind the scenes, and this is fantastic news. Again, you can look at the detail, the scuff marks, the paint, the worn work, if you like, of this aircraft. It just looks great, and I'm very, very impressed with what they're doing here. Sure, we've got the flight model to think about, we've got all the avionics, the weapons, and they have indicated, of course, that there will be an early access version that's not going to be anywhere near complete in terms of those things, and we shouldn't expect that given the level of complexity of this particular aircraft, and that's certainly indicative of stuff we've seen with the F-18, particularly over the last 2.5 years, and of course the F-16 over the last year and a half. These are complex aircraft. They take a lot of work, and I think some people forget just how much work goes into these things. I mean, Simon Pearson mentioned with Grim Reapers, I think it was last year, talking about approximately $1 million a year to work on these aircraft, and there are still some people out there that, and I get it, and I understand that sometimes Eagle Dynamics does deserve, some boos and hisses from time to time when things don't go according to plan and according to perhaps promise too. I think the F-16 was a great example of that, and they owned that, and they put their hand up, and they owned the fact that some things weren't going right last year with regards to updates, and that some aircraft weren't receiving the due attention that they needed to be, less buggy and more functional in the game, which was spoiling some people's flight experiences, and they've owned those things. We've come a long way since then. So, again, before you, start booing and hissing from the cheap seats, just bear in mind what we're getting here in this aircraft. given what we have with the Hind, which I think is a fantastic module and a lot of fun to fly and challenging. And we're going to get a very much a modern aircraft with this Apache. And somebody kindly pointed out too and reminded me, what about the Black Shark 3? We're getting that also as well. So there's a lot of helicopter stuff going on right now, probably to some people's frustration. Nevertheless, I think it's fantastic because it draws in a lot of different kinds of people. And realistically, it's bringing in people like Casmo TV, who's a former pilot, former helicopter pilot who has vast experience with some of these aircraft and can give us some really interesting insights on how to operate these within the constraints of a PC game, which I think is really, really cool. And again, those kinds of things, Mover, Casmo, even Jello, who plays a little bit of this and has had discussion with Wags with the F-18 from a couple of years ago. Those are big thumbs up from the pilot community, and I know there are a lot of other pilots out there that don't have channels and have had in the past, who bring tremendous kudos to this game for us as those that are not pilots. There's some chops there with this because it shows us that it's worth flying and that there's some degree of realism and experience with this whole thing, which I think is really, really neat. So let me know what your thoughts are on the exterior model. I'll wrap up by saying, obviously we can't predict just how far along the aircraft is. We know that it will be presumably available for pre-order at the end of the year. I don't know if that's going to translate to early access. The fact that they have almost completed the exterior model is certainly good news. We've still got several months before the end of the year here. It's a busy time for Eagle Dynamics. The holidays are soon coming over, and obviously a lot of people will be returning to work and people will be going back to school, etc., etc. So the working week for everybody else is just going to carry on. So we've seen some interesting interior shots as well. It's very difficult to glean anything from that, but I think overall, and this is my guess, I think we're on target. I really do stay on target. I think we're on target to achieve this hope that this aircraft could be available at the end of the year, certainly for pre-order, if not potentially early access, although it could be beginning of next year sometime. We'll see what happens. Let me know what your thoughts are. Again, a beautiful rendering here of this exterior. I'm impressed, obviously, as you can tell. Again, let me know what your thoughts are. This is Prickly Hedgehog out, and of course I'll see you later this week. Take care, everybody.